levels of self-awareness. So much information here. For normal everyday consciousness, there's no self-awareness. We're in our mind, we're in our stories. We feel we're the ones thinking the thoughts. We feel that I'm doing all this thinking. I'm the one making the judgments. I'm the one in fear. I'm the one that's controlling it, has to control it. Everything somebody says is about me and it's true, or everything I think about myself is real and true. We're very much the character in the story of our thoughts. And then there's a second level of awareness where we see that our mind is running these stories. We see them as happening by themselves. We see that our mind generating. There becomes a separation gap. We're the observer of watching our mind. And it might just happen for a few seconds, a moment. It might happen because you're sitting in meditation long enough that you sit there and have a quiet moment and you see your mind proposing things. And then after a while, you're thinking what it's been proposing, and you're off in a tangent of thought, and you're telling yourself a story from the point of view of the mind. And you're being dreamed. And then you wake up and go, oh no, present breath, present breath. And you watch the mind come in again. And so you go back and forth, being caught up in a narrative story, in a way, being dreamed by the thought. And then wake up from the dream and observe it. Oh, that was a story I was in. That was a thought I was in. And you'll go in and out of watching this story and being caught up in it, watching the story, be caught up in it. But you're moving into an observer that the mind is running narratives all the time. And you're feeling like it's really happening. And so you're moving back in between no awareness and this observer state. Then you can move into this third level of awareness where you start to apply skepticism, where you start to question the thoughts. Is it true? Could it not be true? Oh, that's a story. I don't have to believe it. And you're starting to have agency and apply power of this skepticism. Instead of just being dreamed by it, you can see it coming along, say, hey, let's go for a ride. I'm going to take you to Storyland and drop you off somewhere, usually hellish. Anxiety, fear, anger, self-judgment, judgment of others. Like, let's go for a ride. And you can see it and you go, no, I don't need to believe that. I don't need to believe that. I don't need to believe that. And you start to develop and have some more power and agency. And so now you're aware of this other aspect of yourself that can say no to the thoughts. I don't believe you. No, that may not be true. No, I don't have to believe you. And no, I don't have to go become the character in the story and be dreamed by the story that the mind is telling. And then there becomes another level of agency. Let's just call it the fourth level of awareness, where you can create a story. If you do the gratitude practice, you tell yourself, what am I grateful for today? How does it make me feel? And you generate your own emotions. You generate your own story that you choose, and you choose one that feels good. I'm going to be kind and loving here today. I'm going to be kind and loving and accepting of myself. You choose narratives, points of view that are loving, accepting, kind, gratitude. And so now you're have awareness that you can create and give the narrative to your mind that you wanted to tell and create different emotions. Doesn't mean that you don't fall into these other zero awareness and battling, holding your point of view. No, all of these, you're moving back and forth depending on the moment of the day, stressed you are, how busy you are, what you've been doing, how much sleep you got. And then you can go to a deeper level of awareness where you're watching the stories in that observer point of view, you're skeptical of them. But now you're noticing not just them as thoughts, but perhaps you're noticing the underlying assumptions and beliefs behind those thoughts. And you're skeptical of those elements that are deeper to the core of what's happening. You might even notice that there's patterns to these beliefs and emotions in that there's certain fear stories that approach. We see that the voice of fear is like a victim voice. You see that your belief systems have different voices. Those thoughts come from different beliefs, and beliefs have different voices, and those voices aren't you. It's not your thinking. It's your mind coming from these different sub-personality characters. And here's a victim voice, poor me, and here's a judgmental voice, critical of the fear you're having or that it's having. There's a fixer. It's like, oh, I got to fix this. I got to stop the criticism. I got to get rid of this fear. What do I got to do? And it tries to control everything. And you're the observer of maybe 3 different characters having a conversation in your mind. One's afraid, one's assessing it, one's got to rush in and fix it. And you can stay in that level of this deeper awareness of, oh, these are the voices of the different belief systems trying to manage each part of the mind, trying to manage the other part of the mind, and really kind of reacting to each other. And so you're watching these deeper levels and still staying in the observer perspective. This is a deeper level. And this generally isn't going to happen just because you watch. You're going to need to do some writing, journaling in a particular style to help get this kind of clarity. And then you can add another level of awareness where you could see the source of these stories. You can be present enough, and a lot of times you might need some guidance with this. You can go back to the original moment where you created this fear. You can see why this voice of the critical inner judge, inner critic is so loud. You can see why it developed, the moments in your life where it was trying to protect you. And you can go, it's trying to help me be better because it doesn't want me to be judged or bullied or ridiculed and XYZ. It's like you see that there's a beneficial side that it maybe originated with. And you don't fall into a story of judging the fear or judging the judge or trying to fix it. You're like, because those are just stories about stories. And so you find these deeper levels and you make peace with these belief systems with their different voices. Now you're aware to see the beginning moments where these belief systems were created, and you're transforming them because you're present with them. And if we go deeper in awareness, you become aware of yourself as presence, this radiance of love and light, or at least can direct this radiant love and light presence with compassion for yourself for having these stories, with self-acceptance for what your mind has generated and these beliefs, programs you've acquired in your life. And so you have this quiet, calm presence, which will happen as you release the emotion from these experiences that were at the core of these belief systems being created. And this presence becomes more and more who you are, what you identify as me. And the mind chatter is echoes from the past, programs to try and help you navigate through life. And they're all okay that they did the best they could when they were developed and a bit outdated now, and they need an upgrade or retirement. And if you do that work for a while and you're releasing the history, letting go of the emotional wounds, dissolving the beliefs, your mind becomes quiet. And now there's an awareness of not just yourself as presence, but of a beauty in the world, of love inside you, of a love around you. And your self-awareness is more and more of the space everywhere, and the beauty and the love and the light everywhere. And there becomes a gratitude for being alive that's natural flow of things. And you're back to somewhat of a childlike wonder and awe at the world. In this state of looking around and seeing the magic of being alive in this world, and love, beauty, peace. And yes, there may be chaos and injustice and brutality in the world, but you don't make a story about it to disturb your peace. You can address it with compassion, understanding, as opposed to judgment, victimization, fear, and injustice, because those are just disturbing the peace that you can have. And so now we're not just in self-awareness, we're in agency, and a kind of superpower that happens when you're aware of yourself as a radiant presence. This is how self-awareness leads to having personal power. But it's not just enough to be aware. You also have to apply, processing the emotions, changing the beliefs. So you combine self-awareness with these actions to make the transformation. So those are some of the different levels I see in this process of developing self-awareness.